Welcome to the Book Party Podcast.
Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T.
Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. Thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com, and hit that subscribe tab on top. Then scroll down to the icon of your choice where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, where you can download and follow us there. And please don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Today, I would like to introduce our guest, Matt Trenholm, and his book, Earth Invaders. Mathew Trenholm is a husband and father of two boys. He's a healthcare worker and administrator in the greater Vancouver area of British Columbia, Canada. An avid writer and volunteer sports coach, Matt Trenholm is active in his community and loves teaching and mentoring the younger generation. Matt, why don't you take it from here, fill in the blanks a bit, and tell our listeners about yourself.
For sure. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Like we started out, I've worked in healthcare for nearly 20 years in British Columbia. I've worked as an imaging technologist for the bulk of my career, as well as an administrator leading clinical departments in the hospital. And that's been a very exciting and rewarding career for me. That has obviously is my day job, and I have a vast array of interests, as you noted. The reason I'm on this podcast is because of my interest in writing, and that I'm an author and I've authored books. And in my spare time, I also coach soccer and baseball in the community. We just wrapped up our baseball season here, and now it's time to switch over to soccer. I started writing a number of years ago. I just got the bug, realized that this is something that I quite enjoy doing, and it turned into a hobby that I would do in the evenings that has then kind of flourished over the years from there.
So, as an author, did you take the journey as a self-publishing author or an agency author?
Well, it's been both. So I have the couple works that I first published was for a local Canadian book publisher, and it was under a pseudonym, so a pen name that I would publish works for this this book publisher, and then that publisher eventually changed direction. They started growing, and they became more a young reader publisher, as in they would publish books like early reader books and educational books for young elementary school children. So then I had some books and did some work with this publisher, and then my more recent books, which is Earth Invaders, and I have another book on fatherhood. Those I took the full self-publishing route. So it was me doing, everything from writing to page layout to getting it out there, the works.
So on the self-publishing side of the house, did you do everything yourself, or did you do a collaborative effort with some others?
I did everything myself. So from, the front and back cover, the description of the book, everything inside, the editing, all of it was done by myself for
So
my two most
basically the indie style where you didn't have help doing anything.
completely.
Okay, yeah, because that's a little bit more on the difficult side of the house when you do the indie
It
author
definitely is.
style. I mean, I tried my first book doing a cover, and it was god awful. I had to have somebody do that for me. That's just not me. But it's nonfiction, and
It's not what I enjoy either. I hear it was as soon as I did it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need a publisher for this next book. That took me some of it took me days to figure out page layout, how to get it laid out just properly and get that cover done. And it was a learning experience, that's for sure.
well, on some of the platforms like Fiverr and such, you can get a good cover artist for relatively inexpensive to make a cover for you, and still do, the self-publishing. Uh, that's what I do. I have a cover made for me, and they do a wonderful job. It's relatively inexpensive, and I still do go the self-publishing route. Anyway, when you wrote your book, there has to be a point in time that you would consider your worst author moment. Tell us that story.
Well, I guess I kind of have a couple. One was while writing the book on an an older computer, and as I'm typing away, I guess the palm of my hand had come down on the laptop, or the mouse pad of the laptop, highlighted an entire section and deleted it before I had saved it, and
Oh
my life
no.
flashed before my eyes. uh, in the panic, I didn't realize that to look for the undo button. I started rewriting it, trying to get that flow of thought back down. And by the time I realized I'd gone too far to undo my way all the way back to where I had started. And
Oh no.
that was, I know, it was an entire section that I really felt happy about. That, oh man, that was a bad one. Uh,
No, a
more
little bit of
recent,
a lesson
more
learned on that, huh?
definitely autosave. Now I use my word processor and just have it on a chronic autosave, so it's just as you're typing, it's saving constantly.
Right, right. Yeah, a little bit of a lesson learned on that one.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
let's flip the coin a little bit. Take us to a point in time, no matter what you were doing. It could have been coaching, could have been driving, could have been taking a shower, I don't know, where you may have had an epiphany moment. I mean, all of a sudden a light bulb goes off in your head and just, man, I have got to find a pen and paper. I got to write this down right now, because if you don't, that that thought is going to fade. Take us to a moment like that.
Oh, for sure. I think as a writer, you have a lot of minor moments like that. Um, but to do with the book Earth Invaders, it was literally, I was just I was at work, and on a coffee break, and kind of daydreaming, and then just I'd been wanting to write a book that I could read to my children, that would entertain them. And just all of a sudden, just that kind of clicked, like the characters I wanted to have, and just a general plot line immediately just came to me. And so I quickly pulled out my phone, I opened up a notepad, and I just talked and texted right into my phone, just to get it as much out as I could before I quickly went back to work. Later, when I got home and I read my notes, the talk and text doesn't always work so well. So some of it was a little crazy and all over the place, but the gist of it was there. And that was kind of, that really helped me pull together the ideas for this book. And the rest is history.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I had somebody else that they went for a 3 mile walk every day and had to wait till they got back home to write it down. And I said, why didn't you just speak it into your phone?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know how to do that. Oh, well,
That's
Because
to me one of
I
the
know
best
with
books.
me, if you don't write something down right now, that thought is going to fade, and it's just not going to be what it was when you thought of it. So it just
Absolutely.
happens. Got to be prepared. Sometimes have a little notebook or something with you if you don't have your phone or something with wherever you're at. I've had a
I
few
keep
other
a
stories
notebook.
too that were pretty drastic, and we won't go over those right now. Okay, let, let's switch to today. What is the one thing that you're the most excited about or fired up about today?
Man, today, honestly, the thing I get most fired up about is the state of our healthcare system right now. That's what gets me fired up, gets me writing letters. We are facing kind of an unprecedented, let's call it a downtime in healthcare, chronic staffing shortages, procedure wait lists going through the roof. And it seems that there is an extreme amount of government inaction on this. And it gets me fired up because there are some solutions. There are at least some things we could try, and it seems like we're not doing anything. We're just status quo. Our truck's stuck in the mud. We're spinning tires, and we're not getting out to push that truck along. It just every day gets me fired up in my line of work, and we just really need someone to step up and to take charge and to start making some changes here for the better.
I don't know about where you're at, but here it seems like the solution is just import workers, healthcare workers. They're bringing them in by the hundreds from overseas. They're
Yeah.
just piling in these healthcare workers. And I mean, I guess they're supposed to be qualified by, whatever they're doing, but instead of getting our own healthcare workers what they need to do these jobs or training them or whatever we want to do, they're just piling them in. Anyway, that's enough of that. This is Michael T., and I thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com. Hit that subscribe tab on top, then scroll down to the icon of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, where you can find us on one of those favorite platforms. Download and follow us there. Please don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Now, Matt, we're entering the lightning round, and in the lightning round, we have 4 pointed questions for 4 pointed answers. Before you became an author, what was holding you back from becoming an author in the first place?
The fact that I didn't even know I wanted to be an author. I called myself a late bloomer. I didn't really know even what I wanted to do in life until I was about 30 years old. And so what had been holding me back was just my ignorance to what I truly enjoy doing as a human.
Okay. The youngest I've had, she had already co-authored 2 books, and her first novel she released at 12.
I'm
And she
jealous of
did
those
it
people.
indie
They've got their life
style.
figured out.
Yeah, and she did it indie style. She did everything herself with a touch of help from her mom. But at 12 years old, she had released her first novel. It took her a year and a half to do it, and I had to give her a whole lot of applause. I'll tell you what. And
Wow.
I keep an eye out on her because that's an up and coming star right there. Because she's not stopping. She's working on the next one and the next one. So in your writing, what's the best advice that you had ever received?
The honestly, the best advice is to just start. All writers talk about writer block. Maybe they don't have ideas, and or procrastinating. Oh, I'm gonna do the dishes first. I'm gonna take my kids here. Starting is the single greatest thing you can do. Once you, I like to write on a laptop. Once I open up that laptop and just open up the document and just start typing, you'll be amazed as to what comes out. starting anything, whether it being writing, going for a workout, going for a jog, anything, starting is the hardest. Once you've started, it seems so much easier from there. Starting is it's like the laws of motion. The hardest thing to do is start something in motion. Once you're in motion, it's easy to stay in motion. So
Okay.
my advice is just start, just open it up, just start typing and see what comes out. Sometimes you amaze yourself with what comes out.
Right. Okay. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Sure. I think like a lot of people, we thrive on routine. Even though I like to think of myself as a pretty spontaneous person, I still thrive on routine. So making anything a routine builds that habit so that I then will do it every day. So, for instance, when it comes to writing, I try to make a routine, to make it the habit that I write at some point every day. And my days, because I have kids in elementary school and a day job, they can be quite busy. So my habit has become, once they go to bed at night, I then start writing. And it might just be, I might be really exhausted for that day, and I might not be really feeling a lot of ideas. It literally might just be 10 minutes that I write for. Sometimes I'm in a flow and it might be 2 straight hours. But the point is of making that habit of just doing it, just opening up that laptop, opening that story up, picking up where you left off and just going from there. Make it a routine, do it every day. Before you know it, anything like that just becomes, now it becomes your habit and your routine, and you're just doing it. That's just part of what you do every day.
Okay. Well, why don't you share with our listeners one internet resource that you use with your writing?
So I personally am not huge on internet resources, but the one thing that I do use is I use an internet thesaurus sometimes, and I use that when
Well,
I'm
that's an
editing my.
internet resource. That's
For
an
sure,
internet resource.
that is true. Yeah, when I'm editing, I find that sometimes I can be repetitive, in that I may use the same descriptive word, say twice in a sentence or one sentence into the next when I'm editing my work, and usually I'm good at spotting that and just coming up with another word. But sometimes I'm stuck and I'm just can't seem to think of another way to say this same thing that doesn't sound repetitive, and so that internet thesaurus, it does come in handy for sure in the editing stages.
Yeah, a good thesaurus is it's pretty invaluable when you're writing. That's for sure. No matter what kind of writing you're doing, a good thesaurus is pretty invaluable. Okay, Matt,
Absolutely.
we're going to enter into the grand finale. So, what I'd like you to do is maybe tell our listeners a way that they can either get in touch with you, follow you, find your book, and then just take your time and tell our listeners about your book.
For sure. Well, I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at the handle Mathew Trenholm. It's MattyTrenholm. And I'm also on LinkedIn, which is my name there is Matthew James Trenholm. And I can be found at both those places there. My books are available on Amazon around the world, and in various other resources, but Amazon seems to be the number one thing people go to. You can type in Earth Invaders. You can type in um, my other recently released book. It's called Fatherhood, like motherhood, but for men. Or you could just type in my name, Mathew Trenholm, and and you'll come to my author page, which will have as my author bio picture, and then links to my books there. As for my books, yeah, I've got two recent books out. One we've been talking about is Earth Invaders. Earth Invaders is a middle grade reader. So it's a novel, but a bit shorter than an adult novel. Um, I believe it's around 50,000 words. So it's basically I tried to just make it as fun, quick paced, exciting adventure story, which is the kind of thing that I've noticed that my boys really like, and it keeps their attention. So basically, that book dives immediately into action. There's a space battle happening, and this group of aliens, they're victorious, and they're pumped up, and they're this military uh, group of aliens that for to unwind in the evening, watch satellite TV feeds from Earth and laugh about how silly humans are. So then they decide on a whim, why don't we go to Earth and enslave those people? That place looks really cool. They seem like backwards folk. Let's go down there and take over. Make them our make it our utopia. They can be our slaves and do our bidding for us. And so then when they come here, it's essentially, for those people who are old enough to get the reference, it's kind of a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids mixed with an alien invasion story. They get down here, they realize they have one tiny problem, and that's that they are super tiny. And then it basically becomes, instead of them trying to take over the earth, it's how do we get out alive? And they go through all sorts of different problems that they face. Things like a vacuum cleaner is a huge issue when you're tiny. They get separated. They've got to reunite and try to get off of this earth in the face of chronic danger from massive dogs and giant mutant spiders trying to take them out. And the story basically wraps up as kind of a basically in a moral that we need to be accepting of each other's differences, and understand that just because someone's a bit different doesn't mean that they aren't a valuable person, and that they don't deserve your respect also. And it's kind of hey, we made friends at the end, and let's let's you know let's take that lesson learned back. We don't need to take everyone over. We don't need to destroy everybody. Everyone's not our enemy. But it's a pretty fun, exciting read, and yeah, my kids love it. So I hope that a lot of other kids will love it too. My oldest is a avid reader. He's 11 years old, and it's right up his alley. My other book that's out right now, it's a comedic memoir, so it is not completely different from this. It is nonfiction. It's basically stories and anecdotes that I've been putting together pretty much since my youngest was about a year old. So it kind of was 10 years in building this book, and I've got a pretty good sense of humor. I love comedy. I used to do a bit of stand-up comedy. I love entertaining people and making them laugh. And so I tried to take a lot of stories that at the time were, they may have been things that were really irritating to me, let's say at the time, but I always think, oh, when something bad happens, there's a funny take on this. It's going to be funny at some point. Lots of times when something happens, it could even be, say, a pipe bursting in my house. In the moment, yeah, that sucks and I'm irritated. But I'm always thinking in the back of my head, how long till I find this funny? Because there's going to be something funny in this. And so
Right.
this memoir, as you can tell from the title, Fatherhood, like Motherhood, but for men, is it's my funny take on fatherhood. So I basically start at the beginning. I start when my wife's in labor, and just take the reader through my experience of being around a wife who's in labor, and what that's like from my perspective, and then roll into the children, and then as they age, different crazy things that happen, and that I'm trying to be as relatable as I can to anyone who has children, is expecting children, has been around children. This book to me is something that either it would be a great book for an expectant parent to know, to get like to hear the truth about what it's like having children, not a Dr. Spock type of thing, or for someone who's already in the trenches, and who just needs to feel like they're not the only person who had to deal with a child puking all night long, or a crazy temper tantrum. That you're not alone. This happens to everybody, and here's my take on it.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool. Well, Matt, we thank you so much for being here with us today and opening up to us, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate this too. Again, this is Michael T., and I thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, we'd invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, scroll down to the icon of your choice where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey. Download and follow us there, and please don't forget to leave a review. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC. This is Michael T. signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party Podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.